say something. See,
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
I wanted to introduce him first, but I wanted to get that on him before I did, because when he comes on, he's going to come on doing something.
I don't even know what.
Yeah, well, that's all right. This is Brother Charles. This is his wife and daughter here. We're glad to have them this morning.
Yes.
I met Brother Charles. I met Brother Charlie through the introduction from Brother Jeff and Sister Terry, and he was down on the streets of Clovis here playing his violin. And he just has a wonderful spirit about him. He's going to tell you some things this morning that I don't even know what he's going to say or do or exactly, but I'll tell you what, there's a good spirit, and I appreciate him, and I invited him. I said, I want you to come and be with us. He said, when? I said, anytime. I don't care, just anytime. And here he is. He called me and said, well, I'm going to be available. He called me, I believe, well, we'd already put the bulletin out, but he called me and said, I'll be there, not this Sunday, which was a few days ago, but I'll be there the following Sunday if that's all right. And I said, that's great. We're glad to have you. We're mixing up with several Christians in the area, and I'm just so glad that he's here. He's from a little place in Oklahoma called Allen, Oklahoma. Look at there. JR knows where that's at. Yeah, he does. That's where they're from. I figured that would ring a bell to them. But we're so glad, and I want you to come and take your time. We're not hungry. Ain't nobody hungry, are you? You come on, Brother Charlie. God bless you.
Now, what time do you generally? I'm not going to ask you when the service over. When do you eat?
Well, they eat whenever they get the chance. Look at some of them. They eat whenever they get the chance.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
About half an hour. Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Pastor. How good it is to be here today with you. Thank you very much for inviting me to come, and my wife and daughter, and share a little bit with you. And it's just a joy. And this brings back memories to me, far, far back. I run across a fella here today that JR there that comes from the very same area I am, and I knew his family back there. Some of them I didn't know JR that much. But anyway, then they came to California, and then I came to California, and I began to get acquainted with his brothers, about 3 or 4 of them, I think. But it's a wonderful thing, and I count this a privilege and an honor to get to come and share a bit with you. My wife, she goes and helps me when I play the fiddle at the farmer's market. And this is something that we started doing the last couple of years, and I'll talk a little bit about that coming up. But I want to go back. I want to go way, way back, if you will. I'm a couple of weeks. I will be 89, and I think I have a pretty vivid memory for at least 84 years, or about 83 years. Pretty good memory back to that time. And so thanks to Jeff also for bringing me over there to help you out, Pastor. It's a joy to be here and to feel the Spirit of God where we're at, you know. You did something that I got to just brought me to, you sang a song a while ago. It brought me to a memory of something that happened. I won't tell it before I forget it. I go to my foot doctor. And he is from the Middle East, raised in the Middle East, except when he was very small. When he was very small, he went to Oklahoma University. His parents did agriculture department up there in Oklahoma, and he was for 5 years, I think it was, of his raising was in in Oklahoma, so he's kind of like one of us. And although he's from the Middle East, and so I began to, I wanted to talk and witness a little bit to my doctor, my foot doctor there. The Lord seemed to lead me to. We got acquainted, we got along really good and everything, and I began to witness to him. And I asked him, I said, Doctor, do you know about Christianity? He said some. Yeah, he said, I don't practice being a Muslim. But anyway, he's open for somebody to come in and bring him to something or other. So I asked him, and I began to, on my appointments, I'd go to see him. I would go, and once in a while I'd bring up the subject, and he always would talk with me about Christianity. And so one day I was going to my appointment, and I thought, Lord, maybe I better be careful here and not overdo this with him. What can I do today when I see him, if I want to bring it up or what? So carefully. So I went in and became seated in the seat there, and the doctor, I'm sitting in my seat, and the doctor comes in a little bit later there, and he sits down below me there, and he's working on my feet. And I don't know where this come from except from the Lord. I said, Doctor, what do you know about Christianity? He told me a little bit. I said, what do you know about the cross? He said, I know a little bit, but not very much. And I said, I want to sing you a song today. You know, and he said, sing me a song? And I said, yeah, I'd like to sing you a song. So I wish your pianist could even play this for us by ear. There's room at the cross for you. And the doctor was working on my feet, and I sang, there's room at the cross for you. I imagine most of you know that song. And he stopped and sat back in his chair, and he said, I never heard anything like that. And he said, can you sing me another one? Then he sang the song, It Is Well With My Soul. He just shook his head and said, I never heard nothing like it. But anyway, I've been working with my doctor for a while. Pray for him. Then I followed up with some other things, but what brings this up is the fact that you sing the song, It Is Well With My Soul. It came to my mind, and so what I want to point out to you here is God gives us opportunities. He gives us opportunities to work for Him. He gives us opportunity to bring people to Him. And sometimes it comes in the most unamazing ways, you know. But anyway, that brought me to mind. That's what led me to talk about that. But I believe in my lifetime. I believe in my lifetime that I have seen two revivals. I mean revivals. My mother was a devout Christian. We lived in the most remote area of Oklahoma, I think, and we didn't have any facilities to speak of at all. But my mother would take us to, me and my sister, I'm the sole survivor of one of 10 children. And my oldest two sisters died in the 1918 flu epidemic. So we spanned all the way from our birth, my sister younger than me, we spanned anywhere from 1926 to I think 1915 or something like that in that family. So she would take us to church, to the little town of Allen there, and they on the street corner, on the street that our church went to, there were 3 churches on the corner of that one place. On the northwest corner was Pastor Kimbrough. I still remember his name. He was the Methodist pastor. On the northeast was Little John, Pastor Little John, and he was the Baptist pastor. And on the southwest corner was, I can't remember the pastor's name, but they called him Holy Rollers. And you know, back in that period of time, it wasn't fashionable, and still isn't, to be a holy roller. But out of that holy roller thing comes some things. One day, through our own church, one day I walked into the church. I've been there for 35 years or so, People's Church, and my wife is a charter member, 60-something years. Small group of people that caught a vision. They had a vision of building a church. And then I walked in there, I thought about, this was 60 years ago, and I've been here 36, I guess it's 36 years. And I thought about that. They had a vision. I walked into the, I don't know how many of you have been there, but it's quite an elaborate place. Walked in, I looked around in that foyer there, and I thought, my Lord, how did we get here? That's a good question. In other words, on my mind, I went back to the time when I spoke of these three little churches on the corner. And what happened is that these people that were called the Holy Rollers, they got a vision. They got a vision of having a church. So they had a revival come, and the evangelist's name was Russell Ridgway. I remember that. Russell Ridgway come, he was evangelist, and he would play a tambourine, and he would hit himself on the head with it, and the elbows, and so on. And they even said he was up on the platform. You know, brush arbor. Anybody know what brush arbor is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some of you do. Yeah. What they do is you put a post up over here, one there and one back there, and so on and so on. Did I break that loose?
No, I think...
Still hear me?
Yeah.
Still okay?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, they put up a brush arbor, and that was probably in the back of the church. That was probably in about 1932, I think, about 1932, and they had a revival. And out of that revival came this little town that we were adjacent to. We were on a farm out in the area there. But out of that little town, they got 150 converts. And 150 converts. And so they just called it a mission up to that point. But they decided that they would connect with an organization, which they did with Assemblies of God. And I go back over there a few years ago to my home, went to the church there, and a beautiful, standing on the southwest corner of that is a beautiful Assembly of God church. Brick building, and the Baptist church is gone, the Methodist church is gone, and the Assemblies of God church stands where that was. How come that to happen? A group of people got a vision. They got a vision. And they wanted to have a good church and so on. And so they've grown to the fact that that they have this nice church there. When I looked around that foyer up there, and I thought, how did we get here? How did we get here? I think I know some of the answers. My Sunday school teacher and my sister's was Nora Douglas. And I can remember Nora Douglas. She was, her affiliation was with, I'm pretty sure, with your denomination here. Church of God Prophecy Group.
That's right.
And Nora taught us. And my mother took us, and the things that she taught was some of the things she had us taught, or she taught, or led us to learn, was to give. I remember taking those pennies that Mother would give us, and we'd go to church, and we would give our pennies. To this day, many of us here and other places, we still give because somebody taught us to.
Yes.
She taught us to.
Yes.
And there's other things she taught. I learned about praying and how God answers prayer early in life. We're going to the mailbox from where we live in the little old house we was under the cottonwood tree there. Out there, the mailman run down there if the weather hadn't bogged him down, you know, with the rain and all that, to get our mail. It was in wintertime. Very vivid remember of me. I remember that we were going to go get the mail, and it was kind of muddy and so on. So we had persimmon groves there. Persimmon groves. And I crawled up in the tree. I climbed up in the tree, and my mother and my sister were down below, and I got us some persimmons. And when I went to get down, gee, I wasn't very old either. Whenever I got to get down, my foot hit into a fork there and stuck. It was painful. I still remember it, and I couldn't get my foot out. So I said, Mama, pray. My mama prayed. My foot came out of there like it was never in there. And that's my first remembrance of God answering prayer or doing something for me. And my mother led me to be taught that. She had a vision. She wanted us to grow up and know about God and all of that, and we did, you know. And so I learned that. And many other things that I could go along some while. So we learned to give. We learned to go to church. We learned so many things like we're still following today.
Yeah.
We learned those things, and when you look at it, then we can answer some of the questions. Why do we have certain things? It's because somebody else, not me, but somebody else conveyed that to you. You may. I want to give you a little. I'm a Gideon. I go to churches and talk about Gideons. But I want to tell to you. Maybe you've heard the story of the Gideons, but I want to tell to you a very brief, interesting subject about the Gideons. Two men. They were traveling salesmen, and they met in a hotel. And it soon was obvious to them, each of them, that these two men were Christians. Way back. That's been about 115 years ago. 115 years about that. And they met in a hotel, and they would have devotions together and a variety of things. And they decided that there was a need. There was a need. And that was to have Bibles in the motel. Well, there weren't any motels then. It was a hotel. That they were to have Bibles in the hotel. So they started working at it and began to distribute Bibles and be pretty successful at it. So then they went to this ministerial association, and they asked them, would you join in with us? You help us to have the money to do it, and we will distribute the Bibles, and we'll put them in hotels. So they did 115 years ago with two men. Currently, our membership is over 500,000.
Wow.
500,000.
Yeah.
Printed in 90 different languages.
Yeah.
We print those Bibles in 90 different languages and distribute about, this is not a Gideon presentation I'm giving now, but I want to use this. Distribute about 1.5 million copies of the Word of God every week.
Wow.
1.5 million every week. These two men that started that and did that had a vision. They had a dream.
Yes.
And I think the Bible, I can't see to read, I can't make notes or to write or talk off of notes or anything, but I think the Bible does say that without a vision, the people perish.
Right.
You'll perish if you don't have a vision or a dream. But what God can and will do with people is remarkable. None of us is too young. And I begin to believe maybe some of us are not too old. There's still things we can do with God.
Yes.
One thing my wife and I did, I played the fiddle around here and there and what have you, some. And we'd go to this farmer's market. We'd go to this farmer's market down here, I did for years. Big crowds. Many of you have been there. Maybe some of you seen us. You did, Pastor, and some of the others. And God put on our heart, I thought, I've been going to this place all of this time, and I've never seen a Christian witness of one description, not even one little leaflet handed out about Christianity. Not a one. Maybe there were some, but I never seen it. So anyway, I decided I'd go to them, and we would, and we went to them and asked them, we asked them if I could play the fiddle there. And much to my surprise, I didn't think it could happen or would happen. And I got surprised. They said, sure. That put us up, found us a place down there and put us there. We went out there, and the first time we played, I was just playing, but I wanted to play the old songs of the faith for those that didn't know them and for those that hadn't heard them in a long time. So that was the thing I did, and then I would play maybe a patriotic tune or an old pony, horse on the range. What's it called? Home on the range or something like that. Or maybe a patriotic tune. But I played it, and people asked us, they asked us and said, can we give you money? And I said, well, yeah, we can. You can, if you like, and we'll see that it goes to a good cause. So the next week that we went down, I made up a little sign, and I put on there that we put on that sign that 100% of what you give will be given to Salvation Army, Rescue Mission, Gideon's, and others. Well, they began. I put the fiddle down, took the fiddle and played it, and put the case down there, and they filled that up with $1 bill. We went for the first year, but then we have raised this year, since May the 10th, the second section of, we have raised almost $3,000.
Wow.
And that money goes the very next week. We sent it to what I said there, and then we sent some to the Children's Hospital, Valley Children's Hospital. We sent some of it to others. One night we were at the grocery store, and we seen a young couple that was grocery shopping, and they had 4 children with them. It was obvious they were a little family. So anyway, they were shopping there, and they had 4 children. It looked like they were being very scanty the way they picked up their stuff, and very careful about what they were doing. So the Lord spoke to us and told us to go check further into that. And we did. We went around and went and caught them as they was coming out of the line, and we asked them if that they might be having a little difficult time with things now, and whatever it was, and they said yes, but we're making it. And a young African-American family, and they were, we talked to them, and I happened to have, which I very seldom carry very much cash, but because I spend it. One day the economizer don't carry it. Anyway, that time I had a $100 bill in my pocket, and so we gave that $100 bill to them there, and the man said, "I'm paralyzed." He said, they were just overwhelmed. That was something people had given, to give, and we gave it to them. God only knows. I don't know who they were. I don't know if I ever see them again or not. Doesn't matter. God seemed to tell us to help those people. So that is part of a dream and a vision that we've been having. And I began to notice, then over at my church, over there, People's Church, I wanted to talk to the young people. I like to talk to young people. I like to get acquainted with them. I like all of that, because they got a lot of us that coming up. All this is coming up, and with them. And so I asked them if I could go, and they have a nice large group of young people there, college and high school and all that. So the pastor okayed it. He said, "Yeah, you go and see the pastor's in charge of that." And I called him and I asked him about it. And what I did, I told him what I wanted to do, and he said, "Can you come next Sunday?" And I almost fell out of the chair. I think Jeff, that was quite likely to happen, But anyway, we went, and we told. I used the Gideon. It wasn't a Gideon presentation per se. I wasn't there on behalf of the Gideon, but I used the story, and I told him. I said, "You're young. I once was young." And I think David said that. Now I'm old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread. I said, you have dreams, you have visions, and if you have any thoughts, if you have anything at all that you've got comes to you, develop it. God only knows. And I just learned this to this extent recently. We did. And so we spoke to those children, and after we got through, they come around and they talked with us. They hung around, they wanted to know more and everything. And so what we did, to God be the glory for all of it, and what we did is we did something because we had a dream and a vision to a degree, So if you've got a dream, if you've got a vision, here you are in one of the nicest towns in California, Clovis. I lived for 12 years here. And but anyway, here you live in here. You have the potential of what God can do and will do with you if you turn it over to Him. Go and wherever the opportunity presents itself, bring them to Christ. Do whatever you can. You know,
Yes.
we go, my wife and I go sometimes to IHOP, not sometimes, most often. After church, we go over there and eat. And a couple of years ago, this young fellow was waiting on us. He wasn't the waiter, but he was taking the dishes and such off. And I looked at him, his shoulders were broad, and he was all trim. And he walked up to us there, and he began to work there. And I said, he had the name on Michael. We said, Michael, I said, you look like you might go to the gym. You look in good physical condition and all of that. And yeah, he said, I am. I said, I could see it. I could see something there. And so I went and let him go, and he came back a little bit later. Said, Michael, I want to ask you a question, if you don't mind. You're in good physical condition. You look wonderful. I mean, you could take prizes, I think. And I was telling him the truth. I told him the truth. I said, Michael, do you have a spiritual condition? Do you know anything about who you are, where you're going? Not really. No, he said, I don't know. He said, but I said, have you thought about it? He said, yeah. So before we left that day, we prayed with Michael. And Michael gave his heart to God. There, while he's picking up the dishes. Michael just left recently, went south, but Michael started going to church. I went back a little bit later, gave him a Gideon Bible, and Michael had been going to church when he could, and that was over 2 years. He was still praising God.
Wonderful.
Right.
And the opportunities are great. And you know what? I went all of these years, and I didn't know that until the last few years. And now that I've got to where I can't hardly go or do, I know what to do. But get a little bit started. It started a little earlier than I did, you know. Anyway. But then, my mother taught me that, taught us that, and to this day we adhere to a lot of it. And we've been, so World War II comes, and I go into the Navy, and I quit high school. I never was registered for the draft or anything, and I quit high school. I did 2 years in high school, and then I went into the Navy, and I stayed there 3 years in the Navy until the war was over. I had points enough to come home, but my mother was dying with cancer, and they had done an operation in the Navy hospital. So I came out of the Navy, and to be honest with you, it was the end of the family for me. Everybody else was gone, but just me and my mother. And I had one brother that was he didn't count because his mind was on everything else, you know. But anyway, I took care of my mother the last 3 months of her life, and then she went on. But the things that she taught and how she led us to do is what brought me to where I am now. Wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. And others like her, you know.
Yes.
Anyway, they had a reunion here a while back, and over in Allen there, they have a big list of all of the soldiers, all of us that were in the service from there. I was on there and many others. But when duty called, we were ready to go. JR there did also. I did. And they didn't have to come and drag us in. We went voluntarily and fought the greatest war that ever was. About the men's division at Gideon's. During World War II, they went to President Roosevelt. They went to President Roosevelt, the Gideons did, and asked if they could put Bibles in the little, when we'd be inducted in, and your little Gideon Bible was in there with the pages by President Roosevelt, endorsement of it. So every serviceman and woman still got a Gideon Testament. The vision that these two men had, they could never dream of. They couldn't probably fathom that at all. Could that be the same for us? It is, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the same from us. So if you've got an intuition about something, if you've got something that you feel the Lord wants you to do or something, do not be reluctant. Develop it. Work on it. God only knows what will come out of it.
Yes.
Amen.
If you'll do it.
Amen.
we learned in Gideon's, I learned this too, in Gideon's, when you're allotted a place to talk, if they give you 5 minutes, you stop in 5 minutes. I've seen the pastor stand behind them dancing. Well, you know, you don't know what to do. So I don't want to wait till the pastor has to do that with me. Anyway, I've only scratched the surface. Then I came to California, and everything was there. So I wasn't a Christian at the time, and but I worked on the first place I worked on was a Veterans Hospital, and then they were developing the Mayfair district down there. I was working down there on plastering, and I'm 21 years old at the time. And out in Mayfair district, we were working, and an elderly gentleman came out to me. I thought he was elderly. He wasn't, probably still in his 30s. But anyway, he came out in there where we were working, and he said, would you fellas come over? Would you fellas come over? And I moved the barracks in on the corner of Olive and Cedar. And he said, come over there and plaster that building for us, help us put it together. So we said, we'll do it. We went over on Saturdays there, and they would give us food, or give us our lunch and so on, and we plastered this building for it. And that turned out to be the Evangelical Free Church, now standing on Ashland over there with old Dr. Lindquist, Dr. Lindquist, the founding pastor. So, well, I went in there one time, or several times I've been there, and one time I looked around, I had a part in this. I had a part in this. Yeah. I had something to do. And I didn't really know what I was doing other than I was just going over there to try to help someone. Yeah. And it worked. So as time goes on, I go back into my thoughts about different things, and I found out that there's like 30 churches in this town that I had my hands on or something other and help them build their churches. 30 of them. Yeah. One of them was the Assembly of God Church up here. I went by there to get a Gideon presentation from him, and I did. And he wanted to show me the sanctuary, and we went into the sanctuary, and it looked really nice place over there on Sunnyside, everything. And I thought, and I said, Pastor, I haven't worshipped in your building here in your sanctuary in over 50 years. He looked at me kind of strange, and he said, we haven't been here that long. I said, oh, but this church stood on the corner of First and Nevada. And days gone by, and they moved it to here, over there, so I didn't lie to him. I told him the truth. First time I'd been in it in 50 years, I guess it was. But anyway, these things are just developing. You can't help it from it, and they're great. They're wonderful, you know. And so, anyway, what I'd like to leave you with is this. I would like to leave you with, catch a vision if you can. Bring people, do what you can to bring people to Christ. And you don't have to go very far till you'll find plenty of them. If you just kind of watch for the opportunity, it will present itself. And then you step in and do that. Build your church and bring people to Christ. And I will say this. Finally, I've been in the Navy, and I didn't adhere to all of the things I was taught. But I lived with guilt because I did it. Very guilty all the time. And I think that I am for hell, stone, and brimstone. Hey, sometimes it takes you have to scare people up a little bit to get them to move. You know? So anyway, I got tired of that guilt. And there was a traveling evangelist brought his tent in, set it up over let's see, it was Clinton and Blackstone, a tent. And I went down there one night, that would be 66 years ago, I think this year. 66 years ago, I went down there and I stood outside. And but you know, it's not easy to walk down that sawdust aisle, you know, not knowing anyone, nobody knowing you, and you're from where you're kind of bashful anyway. It's not easy to do. And so I went down, and this fellow standing out there with me, he said, he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, would you like to go down and pray about something? I said, yes, I would. I said, I want to be saved. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of running. I'm not getting anywhere. And he walked down with me. I always respected that man, for he was the deciding factor that I went and received Christ. I have fallen. I have not lived perfect. I have fallen in the cases, but basically I know the place. I know where it was. Jesus came into my heart.
Amen.
I used to go around smoking and doing all these things we did, you know, and so on. And I'd throw my cigarettes away, and I never could do it again. But I'm not saying that smoking will send you to hell, but it might send you to heaven a little sooner than you want to go. But anyhow, anyway, I quit smoking. I quit it. And I quit drinking. I quit gambling. And I began to follow Christ. And I got off the wayside a few times, like I say, but he's loving, he's kind, he forgives us, he takes us back, you know. And that was where I was saved and born again. And it was all because that I have been taught that there's a penalty to pay for sin. Look, you pay sin, it must be forgiven. And Jesus Christ alone can forgive us and will forgive us. And he loves us. And that's the main thing we need to know. We don't have to live in bondage. We go to him in prayer, and he always meets us. It's been great to be, oh, wait a minute, I ought to play the fiddle a little bit for you.
Yes.
My fiddle, I started playing when I was about 10 years old. My uncle, I had 3 uncles. My mother had 3 brothers, and all 3 of them went in World War I to Europe and fought in World War I, and they all 3 got gassed. But I had one of those uncles, Uncle Hugh. I seemed to be his favorite. So anyway, one day Uncle Hugh come down, and he had a fiddle in a little flour sack, little fiddle, and this tailpiece here was broken, and it couldn't be. But anyway, I began to work on it. I got to work on it, and I took the catgut that goes around here was broken, and the eyes of this was broken. So what I did, I took a nail and I heated it red as hot as I could get it, and I burned a hole in 2 places, looped it over with a piece of baling wire, and put my fiddle together and began to start trying to play it. And had a neighbor that was a fiddler. He played for the dances and everything. So I started out playing when I was about 10. Off and on, I would play. I never really got serious about it until about the last 5 or 6 years. But I did begin to get a little bit serious about it, and I got pretty good. But I don't know if any of you have what's called a carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel, you know, my fingers are numb. So sometimes I put out some notes that they're beautiful things. I couldn't come up with those things. It sounds different. So I'll try to play you a little bit here. And how much time we got left? Just a few minutes. 5 minutes? So I'll try to play you a little bit.
Bless him, Lord.
I won't tell you what I'm trying to play because I might be wrong. Anyway, remember this tune. Oh, see there? Everybody knows, and you played it this morning before, and that is on Jordan stormy banks I stand, and then, you know, there's that one. And then Shall We Gather at the River, and then there was one put out by the Gaithers called There Is a River. See now, the other one is Patty there. She is my helper, and she helped me out there. She's with us today here, and you introduced her. And then my daughter, and so I have 2 attendants for myself. My daughter lived with us. Her husband passed away a couple of years ago, and so I have 2 people to attend me. Now keep them busy. God bless you. Thank you.